If you bought a Tesla in California years ago, you may want to check your records, because some early Tesla owners could now qualify for cash payments, refunds, and restored Supercharger access under a proposed class action settlement. And there is an important deadline, September 25th, 2026. But before Tesla owners start expecting a $350 check, there is something important to understand. Not every Tesla owner qualifies. And even among people who are eligible, not everyone will receive the maximum payment. This settlement involves a dispute that goes back to one of Tesla's biggest early selling points: free supercharging. For some early Tesla buyers, unlimited access to Tesla's Supercharger network was a powerful incentive. At the time, electric vehicles were still relatively new to many Americans. Charging infrastructure was limited. Range anxiety was a major concern, and Tesla's growing Supercharger network gave the company an advantage. For certain vehicles sold during Tesla's early years, buyers were offered free supercharging associated with the vehicle. But years later, another type of charge entered the picture. Tesla introduced what became known as an idle fee. An idle fee is not technically a charge for electricity. It is a fee imposed when a vehicle remains connected to a supercharger after it has finished charging. Tesla's reasoning was straightforward. If a fully charged vehicle remained parked at a supercharger, it could prevent another driver from using that charging stall. The fee was designed to encourage drivers to move their vehicles when charging was complete. But one California Tesla owner argued that applying those fees to customers who had purchased vehicles with free lifetime supercharging violated Tesla's earlier agreement with those buyers. That dispute eventually became a class action lawsuit. The case is called Schenkman versus Tesla Incorporated. It is pending in Alameda County Superior Court in California. According to the official settlement website, the lawsuit alleges that Tesla improperly charged idle fees to certain customers who purchased vehicles with free lifetime supercharging. It also alleges that when some customers did not pay those charges, Tesla either disabled or threatened to disable their ability to use superchargers. Tesla disputes those allegations. The company says its conduct complied with the law and with its customer agreements. Tesla has not admitted wrongdoing, and the court has not ruled that Tesla violated the law. Instead, the two sides have reached a proposed settlement, and that settlement could provide several different benefits to qualifying Tesla owners. The most eye-catching number is $350, but the eligibility rules are much narrower than some headlines may suggest. To fall within the settlement class, Tesla's records generally must show that a person received an eligible Tesla vehicle in California before December 16, 2016. The person must also have continued to own that vehicle after December 16, 2016, and the person must have been a California citizen as of June 21, 2021. There is another requirement. The vehicle must fall into one of three categories described in Tesla's motor vehicle purchase agreement. Those categories include vehicles described as supercharger-enabled, supercharger hardware, or supercharger hardware and access, purchased before December 16, 2016. In other words, this is not a settlement for everyone who has ever owned a Tesla in California. It largely concerns a specific group of early Tesla customers. And even if you are in that group, the amount of money you may receive depends on what happened to your account. There are several possible benefits. First, there is an idle fee refund. Eligible class members who submit a valid claim may receive reimbursement for supercharger idle fees they actually paid through the date of the settlement. Tesla's own records will be used to determine the amount. That means someone cannot simply estimate how much they believe they paid. The settlement administrator will rely on Tesla's records. Fees that were never paid, or that Tesla previously waived, are not refundable under this portion of the settlement. Then there is the payment connected to disabled supercharger access. This is where the $50 and $350 numbers come from. If an eligible Tesla vehicle's supercharger access was disabled for less than 30 days because of unpaid idle fees or other unpaid charges, the owner may qualify for a $50 cash payment. But if that supercharger access was disabled for 30 or more consecutive days, the owner may qualify for $350. There is an important catch. Tesla's records matter. Someone seeking the $350 payment must identify the approximate year or years in which they believe their vehicle was disabled for at least 30 consecutive days. If Tesla's records do not show a qualifying 30-day period, the claimant will not receive the $350 payment. If the records instead show a period shorter than 30 consecutive days, the settlement says the payment would be $50. There is another benefit that could be especially important for current owners of these older Tesla vehicles. For eligible class members who still own the qualifying vehicle, Tesla has agreed not to disable Supercharger access because of the covered unpaid idle fees. If access was previously disabled, Tesla has agreed to restore it, and unpaid idle fees covered by the settlement through the settlement date will be waived. That could potentially be more valuable to some owners than the cash payment itself. But what if someone sold the Tesla years ago? There is still a possible benefit. A class member who no longer owns the eligible Tesla vehicle may elect to receive a $10 payment by submitting a valid claim and confirming that they are a member of the class. Again, the key phrase is class member. Simply having owned a Tesla at some point does not automatically qualify someone for the settlement. There is another important detail. These benefits may be cumulative. That means some qualifying class members could potentially receive more than one type of relief. For example, depending on the circumstances, someone could potentially qualify for an idle fee refund as well as a payment connected to disabled Supercharger access. The official settlement notice says the benefits are cumulative. So what should an early Tesla owner do now? The first step is determining whether the vehicle and ownership history appear to meet the class requirements. If they do, the owner must submit a valid claim to receive cash benefits. The deadline is September 25, 2026. Claims can be submitted through the official Tesla Idle Fee Class Action Settlement website. People who prefer paper forms can also download a claim form and mail it to the settlement administrator. For mailed claims, the completed and signed form, including required supporting documentation, must be postmarked no later than September 25th. And there is another detail for people who owned more than one qualifying Tesla. A separate claim may be required for each eligible vehicle. Waiting could mean losing the opportunity to receive a cash payment. According to the official notice, class members who do nothing will not receive cash benefits from the settlement. However, qualifying current owners may still receive certain non-cash benefits. There is also an important distinction between filing a claim and receiving money immediately. This settlement is not yet completely finished. The court still has to give final approval. The official settlement website currently lists the final approval hearing for December 2, 2026 at Alameda County Superior Court. If the court approves the settlement, payments would then be distributed after any appeals are resolved. So people should not expect a payment immediately after submitting a claim. The legal dispute itself also raises an interesting question about what free really means when a company sells a long-term benefit. Tesla supporters have argued for years that Supercharger idle fees are fundamentally different from charging fees. The electricity may still have been free for qualifying vehicles. The idle fee was designed to discourage drivers from using Supercharger stalls as parking spaces after charging had finished. That distinction was emphasized by Tesla-focused publication Electrek when the lawsuit was originally filed in 2021. From that perspective, Tesla was not charging customers for the electricity. It was charging them for occupying valuable charging infrastructure after their batteries were already full. But the lawsuit took a different position. The plaintiff argued that the terms promised to certain early buyers did not authorize Tesla to impose these additional charges or restrict Supercharger access over unpaid fees. That disagreement is ultimately why the settlement matters. It is not simply about whether $50 or $350 is a large amount of money. It is about how companies interpret promises made to early customers when technology, infrastructure, and business models later change. Tesla's Supercharger network in the early 2010s was dramatically different from the network that exists today. There were fewer Tesla vehicles, fewer charging locations, and far fewer drivers competing for charging stalls. As Tesla sales increased, congestion became a much bigger challenge. Idle fees offered one way to keep charging stalls available. But when a company has previously promoted a benefit using language such as free supercharging, new fees can create questions about exactly where the original promise begins and ends. That is why this case has lasted for years. And it is why the settlement does not amount to an admission by Tesla that it did something wrong. Settlements often allow both sides to avoid the additional cost, delay, and uncertainty of continued litigation. Tesla maintains that its actions complied with its agreements and applicable law. The plaintiffs maintain that qualifying owners were entitled to relief. Now, the proposed settlement creates a path for both sides to resolve the dispute without a final trial deciding who was right. For Tesla owners, however, the legal debate may be less important than the deadline, September 25, 2026. If you received an eligible Tesla in California before December 16, 2016, continued to own it after that date, and were a California citizen as of June 21, 2021, it may be worth checking whether Tesla's records place you in the settlement class. If you paid Supercharger idle fees, you could potentially receive a refund. If Supercharger access was disabled for less than 30 days, you may qualify for $50. If it was disabled for at least 30 consecutive days, you may qualify for as much as $350. And if you no longer own the qualifying vehicle, you may still be eligible for the $10 former owner payment. But no one should assume eligibility based only on a headline. The precise vehicle description, ownership dates, California residency requirement, Tesla records, and individual charging history all matter. And one more thing is worth remembering. This settlement does not mean Tesla owners can ignore future charging-related fees. The agreement specifically does not prevent Tesla from assessing or collecting qualifying fees incurred after the settlement agreement was executed. So this is essentially an attempt to resolve a dispute involving a particular group of early Tesla customers and charges connected to the past. More than a decade ago, free supercharging helped Tesla convince early buyers that electric cars could work for long-distance travel. Today, those early promises are still producing legal consequences. And for some California Tesla owners, a promise made before December 2016 could now be worth a refund, restored charging access, or as much as $350 in cash. But only if they qualify. And for anyone who wants the cash benefit, the clock is already running. September 25th is the deadline. After that, the opportunity to file a claim could be gone.